Call to order the Dartmouth Conservation Commission meetings for Tuesday, January 13th, 2025. And we're here this evening conducting this meeting remotely as a result of Governor Healy signing on March 28, 2025, a further extension of the hybrid remote meeting options for municipalities, which extends that option until June 30, 2027. This meeting is accessible to the public. There are raise your hand features, wave your hand if all else fails, and you will be recognized. We are going to keep the microphones muted of those that are not commissioners or are not presenting, but that doesn't mean you don't have a chance to speak. You do when you're recognized. And then your microphone will be unmuted and you can then make your position known. This meeting is being conducted after having been duly noticed by state and local laws regarding postings, etc. It's also been available on our website. With that being said, we do have 6 out of the 7 commissioners. Affirmative votes will take 4 positives. So we're going to our administrative. The first is to approve the field trip report for December 23, 2025. May I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. We're going to go Liz.
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Next, we're going to have the receipt of the December 9, 2025 minutes. I have a motion to that effect, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz.
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving now to our field trip reports. We have a request for a certificate of compliance with DEP file 15-2733. That's RCC 2510 from Channing Dawson and Whitney Ray Dawson to construct a shed and to replant and enhance the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The regulation involved was 310 CMR 10.02, 10.55, as well as Section 360-2B of the Town of Dartmouth bylaw. The land is described as map 15, lot 10. It's otherwise known as number 2, Beach Rose Lane. Eduardo, what is staff's recommendation on this request?
So just to give a quick little the backstory here. We first received this COC a little way back in May. However, when we went out at that point, some of the plantings weren't doing well and some appeared to have been browsed by deer. Therefore, we asked for this COC to be pushed back until some replantings had been done and the conditions were a bit better. So we went out earlier this week, took a look at the plantings, and they looked a lot better than what they previously were. So given that, we're going to be we're recommending a complete COC.
Thank you. Does any commissioner have any questions of Eduardo? I see none. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to issue a complete certificate of compliance on DEP file 15-2733.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz.
Yes.
Nat.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Megan.
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving on to our public hearings, and we have 2. The first is a continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2805, NOI 25-39 on the notice of intent from the Dartmouth Natural Resources Trust, Inc., DNRT, care of David M. DeVignan, for the site improvements that include to install on-site gravel road access with signage, parking areas, and stormwater controls, improve sight lines along Flag Swamp Road, and to remove a steel catwalk, 2 pump houses, and a wooden pier. These activities will occur within or on an inland bank, land underwater, bordering land subject to flooding, riverfront area, and the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicable regulations are 310 CMR 10.02, 10.54 through 10.58, and Section 360-2 of the Town of Dartmouth bylaw. The land is described as map 79, lot 34-1. It's otherwise known as 293 Flag Swamp Road. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
There was a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
And my vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. I see Mr. DeVignan's here, actually twice. David, which one are you on? The David DeVignan PE or the David DeVignan?
I think I'm speaking from the David DeVignan. I'm using 2 devices in order to screen share, as my computer has no audio.
Okay. Which device are you going to use for screen sharing?
I'm not sure. I see one on the screen from my screen. I don't know. You want to take
the one that's highlighted now is David DeVignan PE, and the reason I ask is under some new protocols, I'm going to have to instruct DCTV to allow you to screen share, but to give them the name. So I have to be precise on that name. So I'm assuming because David DeVignan or Dave DeVignan PE is highlighted, that's the one you're speaking from.
I think you're correct. So if you would allow me to screen share on the other one.
Okay. DCTV, if you would please allow Dave DeVignan to screen share, and he's using the Dave DeVignan without the PE for his computer.
Should be all set.
Thank you. Dave, the floor is yours, and you can screen share if you so choose.
Okay. I'm going to my screen share, and apparently for some reason it's not there. Give me a moment. While I'm doing this, for the record, I'm Dave DeVignan from Schneider, DeVignan & Leone. I'm representing the Dartmouth Natural Resources Trust. The last public hearing that the commission heard on this project was actually presented by Nick Wildman. I actually expected him to be here this evening.
I see him here. At least his name is, yes.
Okay. I didn't know if he wanted to start or.
Without the screen share, I don't know if he would want to, but he could if he wants to. He says go ahead, so he's giving us the thumbs up.
Oh, sorry. I wasn't aware that I could unmute at this time. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I apologize to begin that we've continued this hearing as long as we have. I felt that the Commission had a good understanding of the project as relates to the relevant regulations at our first hearing. Unfortunately, we've had some continued work to develop and refine the stormwater management controls of the proposed project to suit the requirements of the Dartmouth Engineering Department in that time. Therefore, and based on scheduling constraints, both from our consultants and from the engineering department, we have not been able to come to a final resolution and get that final approval. Materials and calculations that were requested by engineering were submitted this morning. Unfortunately, that was not in time for engineering department to submit their review. It's my understanding that through the back and forth, we've come to an agreement on meeting the applicable standards, and the draft plans that Mr. DeVignan's firm has prepared show a slight modification of the stormwater controls that were submitted in your packet. Those have not been transmitted to the commission, but as you will see when we do submit those, the aerial extent and thus the temporary and proposed permanent impacts to resource areas under the commission's jurisdiction will be relatively unchanged by the work. It's simply rearranging the shapes, if you will, of some of the proposed treatments. So given that we have not had a formal response from the engineering department on the latest calculations and figures to meet their requirements, unless Mr. DeVignan has anything else he'd like to add, I would respectfully request continuance of this hearing.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, absolutely.
I'd like to just go through the plan set because the plan set was submitted last week by the deadline required. And I did personally speak with Mr. Paul Duarte at the engineering department, and he verbally, actually I think he did it in an email as well, stated that he was all set with the plans. He just needed the stormwater report to be updated to match the stormwater detention basin that we have. And the glitch we ran into is on our stormwater team. We have Kerry Williams. She's our stormwater engineer. She actually was out of the country middle of last week, and she was supposed to fly in Monday, and she had flight issues and therefore was unable to submit the updated report until this morning. And we were not aware that Mr. Duarte was not in the office. He's out today. So we sort of missed the deadline with the drainage report being finally reviewed by him at the last minute by simply 1 day. He was very gracious to work with, and he again looked at the plan and he said, all I need to do is it'll take me very little time to review the final numbers that I'll be looking for to match the plan. So and my apologies on behalf of the team, and but I would still like to go through what I consider the final plan, because I know that the report as submitted did address the final issue, and so I don't think there will be any changes or any new information submitted between now and the next meeting. We simply would be looking for Mr. Duarte's final blessing on the final draft, the final report for the stormwater. So with that being said, I'll be real brief. I won't prolong the presentation given by Nick at the last meeting. There are 3 areas. This is an aerial view of the entire property. There are 3 areas in set A here where the major focus is because of a proposed parking lot. B and C, those items, there were no issues relative to the staff of the commission or the engineering department. When we go to the next sheet, this is really the focus of the engineering department. I will say there was a disagreement between myself and the engineering department in that we still feel strongly that this is a redevelopment project and a new development, a hybrid, if you will, because the proposal is to utilize this existing gravel road, which runs west to east around the bogs, as the entry road into a parking lot out back. We have 4 spaces and then 2 out front. And the new development would be the expansion of that gravel road, widening it and creating the parking spots. The engineering department's view is that it's new construction, and they wanted us to adhere to new construction standards. And we had a somewhat difficult time because of the existing constraints on the site. We have an old bog on the west side of the road, which is considered a bordering vegetated wetland. We have obviously a pond on the east side, and then a wetland associated with that. So we're utilizing the road, widening the road, and then it really only had 2 spots to put the new parking for the general public in the future, we had on this north side a leaching trench for stormwater that had to be widened in order to meet the new construction standards, and we were able to do that. The more difficult aspect of the project is this drainage basin that we have here, which I'll blow up just a little bit more. It initially was a kidney shape just in front of the two spaces. And the problem we ran into right up until the end is trying to meet this requirement for the DEP stormwater management standards, as well as the Dartmouth standards. They have a requirement. You size the pond for a 100-year storm, and then you have a 12-inch freeboard or factor of safety. Well, when we first sized the pond, it was only 12 inches deep to begin with. So we had basically the 100-year storm event would fill the pond at 6 inches, and then we had a 6-inch spillover. And we really couldn't raise the berm anymore because we would risk water spilling the opposite way across the road to the wetlands on the west side. So in the end, we made a compromise, and we made the drainage depression basin twice the size. And in doing so, we created basically a shallower pond with the extra 12 inches of freeboard. So the overall pond is deeper, but the pond itself will treat the runoff in a shallower format. So that was the end. And in the end, I just had to make changes to the volume computations to make the numbers work. And as I said, the final stormwater report matches that. So that's a rundown of where we were and how we got to the end. There were other smaller details that they wanted on the plan that were added to the plan, and everything we've added to the plan was approved by Mr. Duarte. So with that being said, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And as Nick said, we certainly would request a continuance of 2 weeks so we can get the final blessing of the stormwater report from Mrs. Duarte.
Yeah, that would be January 27th. Eduardo, I know that this is there is a request for a continuance, but do you wish to have any comments made known tonight?
Just kind of going off of what Mr. Davignon was saying. So again, we've been waiting for the stormwater calcs for this project. As he was saying, they were delivered this morning. However, Mr. Duarte was not in. Given that we're still waiting for engineering sign off and have been for a few weeks now, I believe it's up to the commission whether or not they would like to make a decision on whether or not they'd like to continue or withdraw until we get more information.
Well, I can. I'll open it up to any commissioner first, Eduardo, and then I'll open it up to anyone in the audience. So first, any commissioner wishes to be heard. Is there anyone in the audience this evening that wants to speak, knowing we may well vote to continue and they may have that opportunity at the continuation? I didn't see any commissioner who wanted to speak, and I also didn't see anyone from the audience. Speaking for myself.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just a quick comment, Mark Garrett. I think that everything is accurate. We did receive the updates, and they were submitted to Paul, but he's out of the office. My recommendation, you have three options: denial, request for withdrawal, or continue. My recommendation to Eduardo was to continue.
Yeah, I would concur with that recommendation, given the fact that there's been timely presentations made, work has been done on this. Admittedly, it would have been nice to have engineering comments this evening, but given the circumstances, 2 weeks, I don't think is going to be much of an impact on anyone. So I would agree with that. So I will entertain a motion at this juncture to continue this public hearing on DEP file 15-2805 for 2 weeks until our meeting on January 27, 2026 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. The second public hearing is continued public hearing DEP file 15-2808, NOI 2541 on the notice of intent from 600 Potomska Land Trust, care of David DeVignan, to construct a residential pier and perform improvements to the existing cart path within land subject to coastal storm flowage, land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, the 100-foot buffer zone to a salt marsh, and within 200 feet riverfront area. The regulations involved are 310 CMR 10.02, 10.04, 10.25, 10.32, 10.34, and Section 360-2 of the Town of Dartmouth bylaw. The land is described as map 19, lot 20_2, otherwise known as 600 Potomska Road. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz,
Yes.
Nat,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Megan,
Yes.
Richard.
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. David, you're still up, I guess.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. May I screen share?
I asked DCTV to allow David DeVignan to share his screen.
It's all set.
Okay, for the record, I'm Dave DeVignan from Schneider DeVignan Leone, and I represent the 600 Potomska Trust. So this property is 600 Potomska Road. It's a pier project, and I want to start out by I'm going to work backwards because this is technically our first public hearing, and we didn't present the first time due to comments made by the harbor master. The comments came in, I think in a reasonable time from the meeting, in advance of the meeting, but what he was requesting, we needed significant more time to do additional surveys at the property. So this is the first photo I'm showing you. It's an old historical photo. The site is 26 acres, and if you follow my cursor, it has shoreline from this location all the way around to this point. I know it's very difficult to see, but in this location where I'm moving my cursor, there was an old pier, and I don't know if you can see that footprint, but this site had up to 2 piers. I wanted to show the location of the first one. The next photo is a little another photo that's a little better, and now you can see it a little more pronounced where that pier location was. So when our client came to us and wanted to do a pier project, his initial desire was to, if I get this right here, I'm having difficulties with my screen. Okay. His initial desire was to propose a pier that came off of the point, and we had it in this location over here. There's a path that leads from the house. There's a long, windy driveway from Potomska to get to this cottage. There's a cabin here. A lot of the property is under a conservation restriction. The conservation restriction does allow, that actually states it allows up to 2 piers to be reconstructed, because there was a pier in this location down the path to the southeast, And then as you follow this existing cart path all the way to the point, there are 2 piles left of a pier in this location. This is actually the design that we're proposing now. The original design came off of the path and went perpendicular to the shoreline and into the channel. The harbor master rejected that location. He thought it would be a navigational issue. He suggested that we move it into a location over here along the east. So we had to go back to the site and survey all of the depths in the marsh in this area over here. And then we designed a pier coming off of the path from the house, coming out into this location to get to some adequate water depths. Let me see if I can get this. It seems I grabbed the wrong PDF. So we then designed a pier in this location right here. After the staff for conservation, Mr. Garrett and Eduardo looked at it, they felt that this design was too long and impacted too much of the resource area. So then we went back to a hybrid, sort of an in-between design where we had one in this location, and this one brought it out to this imaginary line that I have across here that the harbor master gave us to work within. And we felt this was the compromise. Rather than having the float out in the waterway over here, we have it straddling that line, getting to the depths that we feel we need to be at, and it being a shorter version of the pier. We are crossing the marsh at one of the narrowest points at this point where we come across. We're beginning in the existing path. And the initial notice of intent submittal included upgrades to the path to get to the point so that we could build the pier in this location right here. I think I'll try to find the other PDF as I entertain questions or hear from the staff on their take on where we're at. We just feel like we're at a point where we've kind of ping-ponged from one side of the property to the other. Our problem is, we have this shallow area here inside of this line that cuts across. Everything inside is relatively shallow and too shallow to actually put a float or even a boat. Because when you look at the depths, you have to factor in, like this contour -3, mean low water is -1.8. So that means you have about 14 inches of water in this location. In order to get to adequate water depths, you kind of have to get out to this line or come out further from the point perpendicular to get to the depths that are needed.
Thank you, David. Eduardo, I'd be interested to hear staff's comments on this proposal.
Yeah. So as Mr. Devignan was saying, there's been a couple of different iterations of this dock, different placements. And currently the one that he showed, which we're going to call option 2, answered most of our concerns, especially when it came to the impact to the resource zone and the length of the dock in general. So given that, we're recommending a standard order of conditions with modifications to include NHESP comments and our own. So special condition 21 to say this order is contingent on the applicant obtaining all other necessary and required permits or licenses. No activity shall occur prior to obtaining all such approvals. This is to include the harbor master's approval. As the harbor master is still yet to majorly approve the project in general. Special condition 41, so the outboard end of the float shall not extend beyond the -6.5 NAVD bathymetric contour and shall be defined with reflecting indication or lighting solar powered for navigational safety and identification. Special condition number 42 to say support piles will directly display shellfish habitat, and piles may cause further indirect impacts that negatively affect bordering shellfish habitat. The applicant shall make payment of $1,000 to the town shellfish procurement fund through the Harbor Master Shellfish Warden to offset 400 square feet of both direct and indirect impacts to the identified shellfish habitat. Special condition 43 to read, there shall be no discharge of leachates from any piles used for dock or float support / anchorage. And special condition 44, there shall be no prop dredging of the river bottom relative to the size of vessels using the structure. Special condition 45 to read, any activities requiring a barge shall be restricted to 2 hours before and after high tide to prevent barge grounding in shellfish habitat. And special condition 46 to read, appropriate containment measures, e.g. floating boom with a weighted silt curtain, shall be deployed during construction activity to prevent siltation in the marine environments. Special condition 47 to read, a time of year restriction of November 1st to March 31st shall be employed to avoid impacts to state listed species and their habitats. Special condition 48 to read, NHESP has conditioned this work for 5 years from the date of issuance of the final order. Work may be completed at any time during this 5-year period in compliance with the conditions herein. Thereafter, the applicant must refile with NHESP pursuant to MESA. Upon filing for renewal, extension, or amendment of the order of conditions, the applicant shall contact NHESP for a written response regarding impacts to resource area habitat of state-listed wildlife. And then special condition 49 to reiterate MADDEP, general condition 10 of this final order of conditions. It is required that a sign shall be displayed at the site, not less than 2 square feet or more than 3 square feet in size, bearing the words Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, or MassDEP, file number 152808.
Thank you, Eduardo. Does any commissioner have any questions of staff or Mr. DeVignan? I don't see any. Is there anyone in the audience this evening that wants to be heard on this matter? Again, I don't see anyone. I have a question, Eduardo. On when you were mentioning condition number 21, you included a harbor master who hasn't yet approved it. I'm just curious, have we changed our position regarding our voting without harbor master approval? Because I thought in days gone by, we wouldn't do that. So if we've changed our position, I just want to know before we take that up.
You would be correct. The harbor master is, from what I understand, is worried about the safety of the navigable waters of where the current dock is placed, or rather located. The previous options that Mr. DeVignan had shown to us showed the dock gearing pretty far out into the Slocum River, which the harbor master had issues in terms of safety. And so we included the special condition 41 to have those solar powered or those lightings on the little dock itself. So to prevent any, hopefully prevent any issues with seeing the dock at night or anything of that sort.
Okay, I guess my concern is we're making a change from previous protocols of this commission, and I just want to make sure that going forward, if we're making this change, we are consistent, because this will be the first time, based on staff's recommendation, that we voted on proposals such as this without harbor master approval or disapproval, because sometimes he's disapproved and we've had to go along with him.
Right.
So we don't have any any information from Harbor Master other than he would not approve the original design. However, there's been, from my hearing this evening and from looking at the materials that were submitted, two subsequent, designs, and he hasn't commented on those. So we'd be making a decision without his approval or disapproval.
May I be heard, Mr. Chair?
Sure, absolutely.
I don't think we should travel down that road at all. I think we should have the complete review and approval of the harbor master and not set any precedent with bypassing it today.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak to that issue? At least in the audience, David, you certainly are welcome to re-speak on that. But I think it is an important point. We've never done that before. And obviously you know that because you've been involved in some of those.
Yes. I'd like to screen share again a different PDF, just so that the commission fully understands where we started and where we're at now. And if I may.
Oh, again, DCTV, please allow Dave DeVignan to share his screen.
Should be able to. There was someone with a hand up, by the way, Matthew Bellows. Just
Okay, I didn't see that. I'll go back to Mr. Bellows after David's finished.
Okay, so I want to I didn't grab the right PDF, but now I do have it. So I want to show the commission, the bigger picture of where we started. So this plan shows the point of the property, and you can see that we surveyed all the way across the river to the other side, and you can see the channel at its deepest points. We have -15, -16, and it comes back up to -15 on the other side. We initially didn't think that we were sticking this too far out, because this being the mean high water, this is the plan that the harbor master had an issue with. And then what he supplied to me was he drew a line sort of right from where my cursor is across parallel to another point on the other side, and said basically keep it within that line. And he suggested that we move to the east, so that caused us to go out and do the survey. This line represents or is consistent with his line, and this is the pier, and you can see how long it is, coming off the path just south of the cabin, and putting it kind of where he steered us. And you can see how long it is, and we stay within the line that he liked. Now, when he looked at this, he said, well, your float is right at the line, but the boat can go outside of it. And then we pulled it in even more so, and just submitted up to the portal a draft plan for discussion purposes. And that's when we received comments from your staff that this is too much of an impact across the substrate and the resource areas. So, and that's what brought us to the third design. And this was uploaded to the portal at last week at some point, where we had our long design over here, and then the original out over here. And we're in quite a bit from the original. We are straddling this line, but we're following the contours, which pull away from the channel itself. So I just wanted to give the commission a picture of, where we're at. I know this was submitted to uploaded to the portal. I don't know if the harbor master had comments specifically related to this plan or not. I would defer to Eduardo on that.
David, I appreciate the fact that you gave us this overview of the three proposals and how they came to be. It is helpful to me, and I certainly appreciate what Eduardo said, and it does seem to me that the plan that staff is recommending would normally be a very good solution to this problem. My issue, though, is really one of procedure, where I think we need to hear from the harbor master that he selected one of these three to approve or disapprove all of them, for that matter. I don't want to prejudge what he says, but I think we need to have that in order for us to make a decision consistent with the previous decisions we've made regarding projects of this type. I think if we start making a decision and put in a condition subject to harbor master approval, then we have to do that from now on. And it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a very good thing. Mark, I saw you, but there was also a gentleman, Matthew Bellows, who had his hand raised first.
Yep.
So I'll go to Mr. Bellows if you want to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner, and everybody. Why don't I defer to Mark, since I'm curious about his perspective on this, and then I'd love to weigh in after.
Okay, I'll come back to you then. Mark, now you.
Okay, just to be fair to everyone, the applicant, the commissioners, Eduardo, this was one of those protracted projects that I was heavily involved with and doing a lot of negotiating with the harbor master. The harbor master has reviewed this maybe 3 times and has never given us really a clear indication of his position, short of indicating, and I do agree with this premise, that the boat specification that was shown is, in his opinion, in my opinion, probably too large for this waterway. But that's not something that we can judge here at the Conservation Commission. That's out of our jurisdiction. What we can judge is the impacts to the resource areas based on the dock requested. Mr. Davignon is correct. You saw on all of those plans that he had shared that broken line, which was kind of a line that the harbor master set forth for not to extend beyond. And in the option 2, which is the plan that we have recommended that you approve with modified conditions, they largely meet that line except for the float. And one of the big issues was the original proposal, that original dock on the point, extended out to a depth of -9 mean low water. Mean low water itself is at -1.8. According to the boat specification, the maximum keel draft is 3.5 feet. So if you take 3.5 feet plus 1.8 feet, you get around 5.3 feet. So there was no need to extend the dock anywhere near the -9. That was purely convenient, and that was very close to the channel, which was really the harbor master's initial issue, that the dock, even the first dock, which was not the longest version, was extending well towards the channel. So in our condition, we're indicating that the seaward end of the floats, or the float, should not be set any farther than 6.5 mean low water. That allows for the 5.5 depth required by the keel. Plus, we added some footage for an astronomical high tide so that the boat does not ground, the keel does not ground, except in an extreme condition, and nobody can predict what that extreme condition is going to be. But in your 12-month cycle of astronomically high and low tides, the boat would still be afloat. It minimizes impacts to the resources. I think I forwarded you an email from the latest email from the harbor master, in which he was not definitively approving any of these options, but he certainly was not supporting the earlier options, the longer version or the version over the point. My personal opinion is that's about as far as he's going to go with reviewing this. I don't think he's going to give us any more than that. And I think that the modified conditions proposed really address the kind of concerns he would have. We've permitted docks in the river. There's a dock that was permitted recently, right, and built right across the river from this. So, I mean, this is again, I think my position in the past as your economic affairs coordinator was that I did not particularly support private docks on every property, but that is what has happened over the years here in Dartmouth. So with that in mind, we as staff concluded that this option two, the first plan that was shared, is probably the best option and the closest we're going to get to any kind of approvable position from all parties. And we conditioned that for this order of conditions to be valid, the harbor master has to sign off on this. We have indicated, reflective or solar powered electric signalization to show the end of the pier or the end of the float in low visibility conditions. The end of the float pretty much aligns with the extent of the point. So they would be in trouble even if the float wasn't there and they were that close navigating the river. So I think I understand what you're saying about procedure. I don't know that the harbor master has approved every dock we have ever issued an order on in my tenure here. I know he has disagreed with some things, and we have developed conditions to try to meet his need to the greatest extent possible. And I think that's why staff has made the recommendation it has.
I understand that, Mark, and I appreciate the care that staff has taken to try and craft something that you think might be something that the harbor master could approve, but therein lies the rub. In the past, the harbor master has, in my view, always decided here's this project is approvable, not approvable, or these are the things I'm concerned about. And we've incorporated all of that into our decisions. And frankly, I think that's appropriate. All right. That's what we're supposed to do. At this point, I understand you to say the harbor master will not make any more comment.
I don't think he will make any more.
But I think we need to find out. And if his comments are as I read them, then it seems to me it's saying not what we need to know, whether we should approve it or not. And I don't want to go inside somebody's head and try to figure out what their intent was. I think to me, it's a slippery slope, because the next time somebody comes with a plan like this and the harbor master isn't definitive and hasn't necessarily made a comment on amendments, are we going to do the same thing or just approve it and condition it on harbor master approval? And if he's not going to address this anymore, will he give them the approval? I mean, he may decide he's not going to do anything with it at that point. I've already spoken, and that's fine too. I would want to at least have that in our file to say, this is my last comment on it. You can approve it or disapprove it. These are my comments. Now we know. But I'm a little concerned that we're jumping the gun. That's me. Matthew, I'll now see you. You've got your hand back up again.
Hi there. Well, I'm the owner of 600 Potomska, and first off, just want to say thank you to all of you for the care and time and energy you've spent in putting these proposals and figuring out the best one for the site. My wife Ruth and I are basically just we want to put one of the two docks back on the property that used to be there, but we also want to make sure we protect the land and the river, salt marsh, and all the marine species, including all the oysters that are out there. So I just wanted to say thanks for all the care you put into reviewing this and making these proposals. I feel a little bit, I also really appreciate Dave DeVignan for his tireless efforts to figure out the right way to do this. And Dave, you've been great to work with, so thanks for that. I mean, it seems very reasonable to me that we go back to the harbor master, having had this conversation, and say to him, just relay this conversation to him and say that. But I guess what I would love is if we could go back to him and say, contingent on your approval, we believe the Conservation Commission will approve the design number 2. But like, I just want to move the ball down the road a little bit. That's all I'm saying. And it's hard to.
I don't think that's a bad comment. I mean, I think in my view, and Eduardo, you can certainly chime in on this, but in my view, I think what I would do is solicit the harbor master's further comment. I know he doesn't want it, but include with that staff's recommendation, including the amended conditions 21, et cetera. You got quite a few of them. So if we let him see what we're planning to do, or at least what staff is recommending, let me say it properly. And I think the harbor masters are well aware of the fact that a quite high percentage of staff recommendations become the affirmative vote of the commission. So I think he'll understand that. I just want to be sure there's nothing that we've missed that he's concerned about. And if he's not willing to say, well, this is the plan I'd approve, but he wants to say, well, your conditions, your whatever seem reasonable, I'm okay with that. I just need something here because we've never done it without before. And not that you can't have a first time, but I don't like to have a first time without rationale decisions being made as to why it's the first time. And so far, I appreciate very much Mr. Bellows' comments, because I think, first of all, I think you've got a very good engineer who takes care and pride in what he does. And the plans, the revisions, and the rethinking through the problem and trying to come up to a solution and working with our staff, I appreciate that very much, because it shows to me that the property owner is concerned about what they're doing and want to do it right. So again, I applaud you, Mr. Bellows, for that perspective. But I do feel uncomfortable voting this evening without having at least given Harbor Master the opportunity to further comment if he so chooses. And I'd be willing at that point, and if you want me to get on the phone with him, with you, Eduardo, I'm willing to do that. I don't want to badger. I certainly don't want to badger him, but I think we just want to be consistent with how we approach these. And I think it's important that we work with the harbor master. I don't want to work against him.
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Mr. DeVigan.
Go right ahead, Nat.
Dave, just real quick, what is the approximate length from the marsh to the end of the float?
From the edge of the marsh, but it's on an awkward angle, not parallel to, so it is. So the closest point is about 42 feet, but then on the opposite side, it's more like 60. Because it's not parallel, it's more parallel to the contours, and the shoreline runs north-south away from us. So the average of about 55 feet.
Okay. And you may not know the answer to this, but do you know the approximate width of the river in that location? Because I know it is quite narrow. I'm just curious, like, if the dock is 55 feet from the shore, roughly, is that 10% of the navigable? Well, I guess it's not all navigable given how shallow it is on the edges, but just trying to get a visual in my head of how much roughly this dock is going to eat into that narrow strip there in the river.
I would have to, we do have the number. I would have to go into my CAD and look at that number. I'm not sure if the original plan had it. Let me see if I have that right now.
Dave, it's Matthew Bellows. Can you just pull up the the drawing you have that shows the full width of the channel? This might help. Not this.
So one of them we did.
I asked because I do know the harbor master expressed some concerns about, obviously that's one of the more narrow spots within the river. And two, given the kind of contour of the river, if you're coming in or out, really, you're going to be kind of swinging along that side of the coast rather than the other generally. But okay, this is helpful.
So this is, if you look at this, you can tell that there's a dimension from high water to the end of the pier, 56 feet. So, if you extrapolated that, you can see how far across. Now, this was the first version. Our new version, if you look at my cursor, there's two existing piles. This is where the pier, the storage bin there. This is where the last dock was. And they positioned it adjacent to these boulders. We kicked it just a little to the right of the boulders, and we have it out somewhere in this vicinity where my cursor is. So you can see that we're pulling away from the channel as with the second option. And I might add that the third option, which is the longer version, I think I satisfied what he was looking for with the draft revision, which pulled it in another. He said he wanted the boat out of the line, and I was able to, I think we shaved off another 14 feet maybe of the pier, which I didn't have that as part of this PDF, but it is uploaded to the system. I didn't get any feedback on that one through the staff on what he thought of that, but realizing that, I was against going there anyway, because I said it's going to triple the pier length is 3.5 times. It didn't make much sense. And there's no way on the east side of the property because of the cove to make it any shorter without having no water. So I think that the version we have designed is really close to what he's looking for. He may ask for a shortening of it even more so, but I think I want to point out also that on the plan, the most recent plan, we have specified to be consistent with the recommendations of staff. We have here that the 2 float piles are to be fitted with reflectors facing southeast and southwest, in other words, the channel. And then all 4 corners of the float shall have solar lights at the 4 corners. So we put as much lighting as we can on those items. So if the float's not in place, the piles have reflectors. If the float is in place, we're trying to light it up, in a Christmas tree fashion for those driving after dark.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Chairman,
you.
could I add a comment in response to Nat's question?
Absolutely.
Nat, you're right. The river is rather narrow in that area. David, could you go back to that original, the option 2 plan? No, the option 2 plan, the first one. Okay, I think something that has to be appreciated is that in this area of the river, you have a lot of promontories and cove structures, okay, for lack of a better term. One of the things about this, that was the one, David, right? Just show me the pier.
This is the first one.
I want option 2.
Okay, 2, sorry. Got it right there.
Right. Okay, so the broken line, the approximate line of Cove West shoreline east to the Marsh Point, that line is really kind of the extent of landward extent into the river. And you can see that this float, as he's showing, is really in the shadow of the point. And I think in my original comment, I made that in this location, if they're going to hit the dock, they're going to hit that point of land. They're not going to miss that. I mean, they are in the lee of the land in certain aspects. So they are not extending into the river beyond the maximum extent of land. They are actually within the shadow of the land. I don't know if that helps.
It does, Mark, and I actually, without giving too much of my opinion on this I do think that certainly that first proposal was jutting too far out of the river. The second one, or the third one, that kind of goes back from where the house is it has other I have other issues with, but I think this is a reasonable compromise, provided the harbor master was comfortable with it. I guess I have one other question, and apologies, I didn't ask this before, but the land to the cove to the west, I wasn't clear on where the property border was, but I presume that isn't an option either, because the water level isn't high enough, or the owner does not have rights to build a dock on the west of this point. Is that fair?
The west, I want to make sure I'm looking at the west property line is over here off the page, but you can see most of it, the stone wall.
Yeah, I know there's a cove kind of on the other side of that
I know what you're
point,
saying.
but I wasn't
keep
sure
going around the corner, and it's past
Yeah.
our property line.
Okay, it is okay.
This property line literally is almost at the point. It's
Okay.
a little beyond. I also would like to point out that this straight line from point to point, it doesn't quite come out. You know, if I wanted to be, I think this is a conservative line. You could take this west end and put it over here where my cursor is. And if you start, coming across with the contours, the float is actually inside of it. To Mark's point that, the line of the float is in line with the high tide on the west side here.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, just for a second. Nat, you were wondering whether why won't they put the float over to the west, I believe? Was that the question?
The whole dock. I wasn't sure if they had property rights. Then I believe there's a cove to the western
Right.
side of that, and go ahead, Eduardo.
I could be misremembering, but I believe there's also a dock on not on the side that Dave Divignan is showing, but on the other side of the river. There's another dock over on the west. And so I think part of our concern as well was if they were to put it any more west,
Yeah.
it would be kind of competing with that other dock and not leaving much space in the river for any navigation.
Yeah, makes sense.
David, if you wouldn't mind, just stop sharing the
yeah.
screen, because I can't see anybody. Thank you. So, commissioners, we've had some discussion on this. At this juncture, I would entertain a motion to continue until January 27, our next meeting, 2026 at 7 p.m., so that we can get further comment from Harbor Master on the alternative plans that we have been discussing this evening.
So moved.
Second.
The seconded motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Liz?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. That concludes the public hearings. We're moving on to our items for discussion. First one was departmental transitional status, and then we have one enforcement order, and I have a matter that I'd like to discuss that was not on the agenda, but under items for discussion. So there are three items. First up, departmental transitional status.
Mr. Chairman, I submitted to the commission last week what my status is moving forward as a consultant to the staff and the commission during this transition period until they hire my successor, whomever that will be. There is also talk of hiring an administrative assistant to support both Eduardo and my successor going forward, which I like to think is a minor victory on my part. I think I summed up what the situation is, but I wanted to give the commission a chance to ask me any specific questions regarding what my role is as a consultant, advisor, non-decision maker to staff and the commission itself.
Well, I don't have any particular question. I think to me, it was pretty clear. I think you did a great job in summarizing that in writing, but in my view, you're just that. You're a consultant, somebody that Eduardo can lean on, or any of the commissioners can lean on. But unlike days gone by, you're not going to be making recommendations to the commission. It's more for the technical questions and say.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement, except that, as in the case with the past hearing, actually the past two hearings, I was very involved early on, and these longer protracted cases, I think I will be involved with. The newer filings that come in, I will, certainly review and advise, but I will not take really an active role in. But I don't want to leave Eduardo trying to reinvent the wheel, since a lot of discussion has taken place, a lot of comment has gone back and forth, whether it's stormwater on the DNRT property or how this dock proposal is faring out. And there are also some other long-standing initiatives. I've started the wetland regs review with town council again, which is something I'd like to finish before I physically am out of town hall. So just again, I wanted to give the commissioners an opportunity to ask me any question they wanted.
Very well. Any commissioners want to avail themselves of that opportunity?
Good.
See, so I appreciate that though, Mark, and I appreciate the fact that you were willing to step into a consultant advisory role. That's a tremendous help to me. It's a tremendous help to this commission, and I'm sure Eduardo would agree, a tremendous help to him. So
I wouldn't let you hang.
I knew that. I knew that, but I want to let you know I appreciate
it. Thank you.
So thank you. And we do have I guess we have a request to extend the deadline on a enforcement order response for 38 Lakeside Avenue. Is that correct, Eduardo?
Yes. Well, I'm going to handle this one too, because I've been involved with this one. Yeah, this is the guy that built a beach in Lake Nokichoke within Lake Nokichoke, not next to it, without a permit. We issued a letter and an enforcement order, and this all began around August 20th of 2025 when the first letter was sent, and an enforcement order was sent 9/4/25. We had a deadline that has been passed, and we still have no filing as of the 13th of January. We received, and I think I forwarded to the commission, an email from Mr. Lord, who is the applicant violator, and he's asking for an extension. Now, we've been out 3 months on this, and we haven't heard anything. He was delayed in getting his consultant. He was delayed in getting work done. It's been one of these ongoing things. I was not at any point going to say, yeah, go ahead, you got an extension, without coming to you, the commission. So he indicates he's now waiting to get a signature from Fall River, given that Lake Nokichoke is the property of the city of Fall River, and not the property owner nor the town of Dartmouth. He has yet to do that. Again, we've been out 3 months. I don't know how long it takes one to get a signature, but it seems a little long to me. But he's asking for an extension. I think he's looking for a specific date. So I bring that to your attention.
I appreciate that. It's kind of hard to give a specific date when the rationale for the extension is hard to fathom. As you said, how hard is it to get a signature? But if he's looking for an extension, I wouldn't be inclined to go more than 2 meetings. So our first meeting in February. Any other commissioner want to be heard on that?
I agree.
Yeah, seems reasonable to me, Mike.
Okay, Eduardo, I'm not sure what that date is in February, but if we looked it up, that's the date we can give him for an extension.
Did you say the first?
First meeting in February.
I believe it's February 10th.
Okay.
Let me check that. But yeah, that would be the first meeting in February is February 10th.
Okay. Sounds good.
And that's to file the notice of intent, because that's what he needs a signature on,
Okay.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, go ahead.
I believe he was from my discussion with him briefly over the phone. He was also required to go to a what was it, the Fall River Water Board meeting, whenever that was, according to him, which doesn't happen too often. So that was also part of the reason why he requested an extension.
Well, I think if he gets something in writing from us, he can then use that to request a meeting with the water board, at least as to this issue, because I'm really loath to continue giving an extension based on another entity who may not meet very frequently, and I have no idea when they're going to meet. So it's really basically saying you can ignore us, and I don't want it to be ignored.
And I would, if I could follow up on that, he was aware that he needed a signature from the city of Fall River back in September. We
Okay.
had specific discussions. I don't know why he delayed, but he has delayed. He delayed in retaining a consultant. He's been late on everything. You talk to him and he'll say give you the moon and the stars, but when it comes down to product, it isn't there. So I think that in his email, he suggests that he anticipated the possibility of a meeting at the end of January. All he needs is a signature. Okay. He can do everything else. He can get the plans prepared, the NOI prepared, everything else. All he needs is somebody to sign it and then submit it to us. So,
I'm not inclined to go beyond February 10th. That's more than enough time.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. So now the thing that I want to bring up, I met this afternoon with.
Do you want to vote on that officially, Mike?
Oh, okay. Do an official vote. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to grant an extension on the enforcement order for 38 Lakeside Avenue in Dartmouth. And the extension will be until February 10, 2026 at 5 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Roll call vote. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That motion passes unanimously. Okay, commissioners, this afternoon I met with Brandon Annette, Vice President of the Buzzards Bay Coalition. And as you may recall, earlier this year in July, we discussed as a Conservation Commission and voted to issue a letter supporting the Buzzards Bay Coalition's application for a state grant, and this is for the property that they wanted to acquire for open space. It's right by Duval's store, and they wanted us to hold the conservation restriction. And we discussed the fact that we would do so because it's a small piece of property. It's very visible. It's not going to be difficult to steward it as it might be some larger pieces that are out in the woods somewhere. Well, they didn't get their loan or their grant, excuse me. So they're now applying for community preservation monies. And they would like us to issue a similar letter, but this time to the Community Preservation Committee. And obviously it has to be tweaked a little bit because the letter that we sent out on July, I believe it was 10th of this year, was specific for the grant. So it's the same project with the same ask from us, namely to hold a conservation restriction, the difference being who's going to be the, I guess you'd say the grant maker, in this case, CPC funds. And I did inform Brandon, and he was well aware of it, of the position the state has taken regarding CPC funds for open space and how we would have to structure this as the town of Dartmouth using its CPC funds to purchase the conservation restriction, because we have to have an interest in the open space, or technically they're saying we're in violation of the statute. So anyway, I have Brandon did send me a copy of, in Word format, of a draft letter. Eduardo, I just sent it to you as we were speaking. Okay.
Okay.
If you can't see it, let me know. I'll send it to you again tomorrow. But I would ask the commissioners to consider whether to issue that second letter, this time to Community Preservation Funds Committee. So same project, identical project to what we approved before, just a different source of funding. So I'll entertain a motion to, and I'll be happy to sign this, Eduardo, with you, okay, because I know your position is different than Mark's was when he signed the letter, okay?
Mhm.
So when it's done, I'll come in and I'll sign it too. And turnaround is kind of important here because he has to file the application on January 26th. So I'll be in touch with you tomorrow if we vote in favor, okay?
Okay, so I won't be in tomorrow, but I will be in this upcoming Thursday.
How about Friday?
Friday as well.
Okay, I'll meet you on Friday then. I've got a full range of commitments for Thursday, but I will be happy to do that. So commissioners, I'll certainly entertain a motion to approve the issuance of a letter on behalf of the Dartmouth Conservation Commission to the Community Preservation Committee on the application of Buzzards Bay Coalition for funds for the, I'm going to call it the Duval, I don't know the name we had before, but the Duval Field Project. Let me see if I can find the name, because I want to find the letter.
That was the name, Mike.
Okay.
It's always been the Duval Field Project.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. With a second.
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 Second motion. Roll call vote. Liz?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
My vote is yes. That passes unanimously. So Eduardo, if you can't read that, let me know. I can print it out and bring it in. We just have to slap it on our letterhead and tweak it a little bit, and then I'll sign it and you can sign it as your position, and I'll sign it as chair. And then we'll get it over to Brandon so he can include it with his application.
Sounds good.
Okay. Commissioners, I'm all finished. I mean, I have nothing more to add. So unless anyone else does, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion. Roll call vote. Liz?
Yes.
Nat?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Megan?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
My vote is yes. Passes unanimously. Good night, everyone, and thank you.